Welcome to HASSDISCUSSES. We are joined by Slim, a Sacrilege set artist, and he's been booming lately in the underground. Done collabs with, young Vader, and that's probably my favorite collab he's done and shit like that. That kind of put me on, to be honest, is the Vader collab, and yeah, man, tell me about like what is this week for you personally?
Well, this week in particular,
Yeah.
or just like the music I've been making.
No, personally, in particular, this week.
Yeah, so I just had finals, and I'm a senior in college. So yeah, going into I'm graduating tomorrow, and then I'm done with school. I'm not going in I'm not getting a master's or anything. Yeah, so that'll be it. This week has basically just been winding down, hanging out with my roommates, and just kind of taking it easy since it's been a long time coming. Um,
Could you
it's
go
one
into
of
what
those.
degree you got?
Yeah, so I'm getting a marketing degree, and I think I may have a minor in psych, but it's weird because I didn't take the credits to get it, but they might have just put it anyway, just because I took a couple classes anyway.
Yeah.
So I might get like a marketing major with a psych minor. So I'm hoping to take that somewhere like in the music industry, if possible.
Well, yeah, it's giving you a mind. It's gonna wire you. You've probably already been doing this because when you start something, you have to wire yourself. It's like you have to program yourself. Kind of with most professions, like I'd advise anybody in the creative field take a blue collar approach to it.
Oh, for
Really,
sure.
like don't think it's like one thing and then you're done. No,
Yeah,
no.
very different. Yeah.
It's like continuous. It is very like impulsive is used in a negative connotation, but it's very like again and again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like kind of just doing whatever you feel. Yeah, for sure.
But you gotta like apply the work ethic that you do with other things, and that's why like I'd advise anybody that's like being a creator is like get a shitty job, because then it really helps you like learn your work ethic or getting yourself in a shitty, not really shitty, but like scenario where you're working hard and stuff like that. That could be school. That's probably that for you.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want to
Like
talk about what you
there was
said.
a guy who was talking to me. I think it was like somebody who was already in the business. So like a couple of years ago, I worked for this company who runs like music festivals. So there were a couple in Ohio that I ended up working. But I was talking to him, and I think he was like if you want to get into the industry, like you're not going to start as an executive. You're not going to start, by signing artists. It's just not how the industry works. You got to start somewhere low. So like a lot of the people who are like CEOs now or like hold like exec positions, they started in the mailroom or they started, as a janitor, and they just by being around the people that they wanted to work with, like that gave them the experience and the connections to
Yeah.
get them a higher, position where they wanted. So yeah, sometimes you got to take those, tough jobs to get ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So, did you work on music prior to being in college, or was it just something you did in college?
So it's actually something I started like pretty close to when I started college. I'm trying to think of when I started. I believe it was the winter break of my sophomore year. So it was about like 2.5 years ago, I'd say, is when I started. Like when I picked up my laptop for the first time, never having produced before, that was probably like 2.5 years ago. But I really started getting like serious with it and started like getting cover arts made and started really like working with other artists probably like a year after that. Because like I kind of spent that first year like learning how to use GarageBand, like learning kind of what beats I like to hop on and which beats that I fit the most or the
Yeah.
fit the most well on. So yeah, so the first year was kind of just like I was not good. You know what I mean?
Did
It
you
was
know
just
your aesthetic the first year? Because you obviously have a clear aesthetic. That's beautiful.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely the aesthetic I have now is kind of like over the course of it's definitely like been developed. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty similar. Just kind of like the dark and like kind of like low key, lo-fi, kind of like aesthetic. It was kind of like that. It was just kind of like in its developing stages, I'd say. Um, but yeah, I'd say like before my first track, like on my first track on my SoundCloud, I think is technically from like 10 months ago or something like that. But that's like I had probably like four or five song projects before then. Like I think I actually had an album out before then.
Was it always Slim?
That was yeah. I've always been Slim. I recently changed the dollar sign to an S though, just because it was tough for people to search me.
Confusion.
Yeah, yeah. So and I remember when I like sent the request to the distributors, they were like telling me not to do it because they said like the dollar sign is what makes me unique and it's what's going to set you apart
Who's
from
the
all the others.
distributor?
I use Repost Network.
Oh, word.
Yeah, and then because I used to use United Masters, but they recently started charging like $60 for a year.
Ah, fuck. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
before it was free, so I was just using it, but then they started charging, so I just went to Repost, which isn't nearly as expensive. So
You know what I heard was like this big like thing that everybody was starting to use is like not really started to use, but I tried using CD Baby once.
I've heard about that.
It took so long. It took like a week and a half for it to say that it was almost at stores, and it wasn't even at stores yet. And then I got DistroKid in a day, probably 2 days within me signing up with DistroKid. Just fucking full send out there, everything. DistroKid or like, there's another one too that Slim Gorilla was using. I forget.
Maybe like a Muse, maybe, or
There's a
TuneCore. I think is another one.
Lil B uses TuneCore and so does Puya.
Yeah, I hear the ads for them all the time on SoundCloud.
Yeah. By the way, Lil B interview coming soon. He's being a bit flaky right now. Anyways, but I want to talk about, since you know a lot about Soulze, I was on Soulze's story, and I thought this would be interesting for us to talk about. He was talking about how Soulze was talking about how he did his first show in 2013, and I'm like, dude, what? Your music track record only goes back to 2017. Did Soulze release music under a different name? Do you know of that?
I don't personally know of that, but it could have been like maybe he was like performing, like maybe he had like one track that he had at the time, or maybe he was a feature with another guy and he was performing in 2013. Because chances are, like, even if his first show was in 2013, he might have gone like another 2 years without performing until he started really getting serious about music.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like I still haven't performed, but I've been making music for 2.5 years, so it's still kind of developing, kind of getting to that point.
Yeah. And by the way, just for the audio, we're gonna get into his collective too, but shouts out to Doom Shop and Drag and Soulze interview coming soon. Okay, so Sacrilege set. Who's in it? Who inspired it? Tell us about it. Sacrilege set.
Yeah, Sac. I'd ride or die for Sac. There's a lot of talent in there that I feel like goes pretty overlooked in terms of like the collective itself. I feel like we each kind of have our own different fan bases or like our own different kind of like people that we appeal to. But so the founder, his name's Outcast. He founded it. I'm not exactly sure. It was definitely at least a year ago. Because I remember I found out about it about a year ago, and they'd only been around for a while. They only had 4 or 5 members. But so yeah, he founded it. And it's also Totex, who very talented. I would definitely suggest listening to Totex. He's been doing it for a while. He doesn't have that much music up right now, but he's working on a tape with Outkast right now. That's gonna just go crazy. And then you got Manic Main. He's one of the OG members. I'm pretty sure him and Totex were in Sacrilege when I first found it a year ago. So they're like kind of like the OG members.
Who founded it?
Outkast.
Okay.
Yeah, Outkast.
Were you a late member or did you found it with him?
Yeah, no, I did not found it with him. I was added, I think it was like sometime during the fall of last year. So probably like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 months ago, maybe somewhere around there, something like that. But yeah, so and it's who else? Dominus Soul. He's kind of a more recent addition.
No, for real?
Yep, Dominus Soul is
yo.
Yes, sir.
Dude, he's fire, dude. Holy shit. He had this one beat called Out of Control. It was like
that cowbell beat.
Yeah, that shit.
Yeah.
That beat. Holy shit, yo. That's crazy. He's fire, dude. Where's he? He's at the UK, right?
Yeah, he's from the UK.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god. I know a lot about him. That's fire, dude.
Yeah, he's been around, and he's got some really cool things in the works. He's working on his dungeon music too with like Raycog and like
He
people
collabed
like
with
that.
Sly, right? A little bit,
And
right?
he's got that EP with Sly. Yep, that
Yeah.
was crazy. I love that. So yeah, Dominus very talented. He's got some stuff in the works.
Yeah.
And then so then me and then Grim Sleeper. He was added pretty shortly after I was. But he's actually also from Cleveland. So we've been talking about doing some things this summer in terms of like merch and videos and shows and stuff like that. So we're gonna get some stuff rolling this summer for sure. But Grim Sleeper, he's like he's probably next up in terms of like who's gonna pop next. I mean, like from our set, just because he's been working real hard. He's been get some really good collabs. He's very talented, and he's stepping up his production game too. We have some more tracks on the works as well. I think he's one of the first artists like from Sac now that I actually worked with. Back on
Right.
a track called Lights Out. Man, I can't remember. I think that was the first track that ever hit official Memphis for me. Was that track I did with Grim Sleeper?
I want
But
to
yeah,
get on
Grim
that so
Sleeper.
badly, dude. I'll tell you, like, that's oh man. One day I'll get on that shit. I'm in someone in my music group has gotten songs on that, but like I don't know. I'm gonna check out the what's the other one? North Funk, and then there's Purple Lane.
Yep, yep. I think Toxic and Trash are two other ones too. It's a little bit different of a style, but yeah, yeah. Memphis is they're interesting. They're like their selection of who they like to put on there is very specific. Like they don't add all of my music. Like they only pick some of them. But I mean, I don't stress about it. You know what I mean? It's promotion, so like if they want to post it, it's cool. If not, then he must not have liked that one. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sweat it. Um, and then the last member is Anathema, who he was the most recent addition to the set. And he's like a more of like a lo-fi producer, but he's worked with some pretty big names. He's worked with Sagat, he's worked with Cocaine Kruger.
Ooh, Cocaine Kruger.
He's done a couple tracks with Outkast. So yeah, yeah, that's the set. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. That'd be kind of embarrassing, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's the set. That's it's pretty small. It's definitely gone through a lot of renditions. We've been kind of adding and subtracting members over the last 6 months, but I finally feel like we're kind of at a solid like,
Yeah.
we everybody in the set is who we want to have in it right
Sometimes
now.
people, sometimes people gotta go. You know what I
Yeah. Oh,
mean?
I mean, just based on like it could just be inactivity. You know what I mean? It could just be
Inactivity. I'll tell you a scenario that fucked. Like, oh my god, this shit pissed me off. So in my group, I'm not gonna name names. I ain't gotta do that. But someone sent a beat that's been sort of in the back burner for a while, and I've been like listening to this beat over and over again. And we were about to we dropped our debut album and stuff like that. Our group, and I was thinking like the first track should be like five people on it, posse
like
cut track. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And
yeah.
I ended up like and the guy who sent me it was he's in the group, but he was really inactive. But I heard this beat and I was like, damn, solid beat, and everybody loved it. Everybody rapped on it. So I uploaded. Everybody's fucking with it, and it's like the big, group track. And then after a while, because I credited the guy in the title, the guy was like, "Oh, I didn't really make the beat. I just mastered it."
Oh, what?
I was like, "What?
Oh,
Are you fucking kidding me, dog?" Like, so yeah, I had to remove him afterwards because that's misleading, bro. You know what I'm saying?
well, yeah, like yeah, that's and I feel like that's a lot more common. Like I've heard of that happening. Like people will just take credit for the entire beat, even though they've done like very little to it. Like it's something that got sent to them, and then they pass on and say, "Hey, I made this." Like I've heard of that happening. It's not a very good move to pull for sure.
Yeah. NASCAR Allo said that he's like self-produced the whole fucking album, but he actually ended up like buying a beat from someone and like looping a part of the beat where the guy's producer tag wasn't in it and giving himself credit. It's like
Oh
so
man,
he was
that
like "Oh, I self-produced his EP," but like I know producers who like post about it and they're like, "No, you didn't, home." It's like I don't know. I
that's
will give them credit. That one track they did with Zillakami last year, the ACAB
that
joint,
was yeah, that was sick. That was
that
a
was
cool track.
fire, dude. So yeah,
He's crazy, man. NASCAR Aloe, like I props to him, man. He is in his own lane for sure, man. Like I've looked at some of his shit and like it's so unique and so like in your face type shit. Like, people there, I could easily see people moshing to that kind of music. Like if he was ever to perform live, which I'm sure he has at some point. But
Yeah, with
yeah, that's
I think
that
it's
kind of that kind of shit. But like stealing beats and like not giving proper credit. I've never really been too about that.
yeah, I don't fuck with that. But shouts out to Zillakami though, who's made stuff with him. He like not a lot of people talk about this, but Zillakami doing a track with Lil Uzi, that's big. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, did
Like
they?
that's huge.
That's very huge for the underground, just in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's like if Suicide Boys did a track with like Trippie Redd or like, you know what I'm saying? Like even though
yeah.
Suicide Boys are big, they're still like able to formulate, not really formulate, they already formulated their own sound, but they're still able to like be in their, well, they kind of stole the sound from Cisco anyways. They
Yeah, it
still
is kind of
have,
like in their own little like bubble of
yeah, they're
like,
still in their bubble. They still like do the same shit with the same people. They still drop
yeah.
consistently, and they still kind of have the same fans. They still like, they don't collaborate with like Jay Green anymore, or like the people that built them up. Or
That was unfortunate. That was a tough situation to watch unfold. Unfortunately, with the
yeah,
whole.
but they're still like in their own. They're still like heavily independent, even though they got the whole like big record label backing them. You know, but I still want to see them like branch out and like do a track with someone incredibly mainstream.
Well, shit, I just saw they just did a track with Diplo. I don't know if you saw that. It was like Tommy Cash. I think it was Tommy Cash
I know what you
featuring
mean, but like that's cool.
Suicide
But like I
Boys.
mean like a
Yeah.
rapper, you know what I'm saying? Like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt. Yeah, for
just like
sure.
Benny. Like what if Benny the Butcher hopped on a fucking, or like
Scrim beat or something like
yeah, just a
that. Like
scrim. Like
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you know what I would like to see is like a scrim drop like a album that's like only produced by him, but he doesn't rap on it.
Oh yeah, like an executive produce, but he doesn't rap. Like
Like a
executive produce
DJ
or
Khaled
something
type
like that.
shit. And like
Yeah.
he could use like the Bud Dwyer moniker.
Yeah. Oh, that would be sick. Yeah,
Yeah.
just produced by Bud Dwyer for all of it. Yeah. I think him and Cheddar,
No, I
he
do
just got
not.
signed to G59. I think he's working on some shit with Cheddar. So I'm assuming that Cheddar will start to have some more Bud Dwyer produced beats.
Yeah.
But I believe Juicy J's mixtape called "Highly Intoxicated." I'm pretty sure that was all produced by Scrim.
Yeah, but that's what Mr. Cisco told me is that a majority of the percussion and stuff that's in that mixtape, it was all drum kits and stuff that Mr. Cisco sent to Scrim, like from like a while back, like 2014.
Oh
Like
shit!
and like he was like Scrim would always hit up Mr. Cisco and be like, "Yo, can I have some drums, bro? I'm a big fan. Can I have some drums?" And like a majority of that, like all those like Lamar Avenue type sounds, all that shit
Right.
comes
So
from
they
like
had the
Mr.
snare and
Cisco
shit.
emailing shit. And then when the Suicide Boys, I'm done after talking about this after this, but like when Suicide Boys went to Detroit, Mr. Cisco and Buddha Jones were like, "Hey, can we open for you? Like, you know, we helped you a lot with these fucking," and they just left them on red and shit. And it's like, yeah. Anyways, you got Vimalls to do your cover art, man. Like, how'd you
Eyeballs.
start making shit with him? He's nuts.
Yeah. So damn, I'm trying to think of the first Vimalls piece of art that I've seen, just because I probably ended up looking or like finding him through like Sly or somebody
Yeah.
who he had already done art for. But I think because I love like looking through the underground for really talented graphic designers to do my cover art. Because I don't personally have Photoshop. I just use like an online version of it. So like the covers I make could be a lot bigger if I had like more bandwidth and more like, if I actually had Photoshop. So I like to give like different graphic designers kind of like a shot at like, to kind of like get their name out there, not only,
You
but
got Leatherface doing your shit too. Shouts out to him.
Leatherface always kills. So I'm hella glad that because I think one day he might have actually like followed me one day, because I'd kind of like known about him just from doing covers, but I figured he did like covers for like big people, you know what I mean, like Moitanic and like these big names. So I figured he didn't really want to like spend his time doing covers for me, but he was super open, he was super down, and but yeah, shout out Leatherface. He has some fire shit. But
Just did a track with. He just did a cover art for Vicious Vampiria, by the way.
yeah, for that, I think it was that track with produced by Sly, right? That
Whatever her
by,
latest release was, but I just
yeah, I did see that. Yeah, that was sick. But as for Vimos, yeah, so I think I was just like in that phase of just looking for graphic designers who make cool art. And so I hit him up one day and I was like, yo, I got this track with Young Vader, speaking of Young Vader, that I was like, yo, this track needs a cover. Do you think you can make it? And he was like, hell yeah, bro. Just send it through, give me the name. And I think he asked me if like I wanted anything like if I wanted him to go a particular direction or if he should just freestyle it. And I think I just kind of gave him like something, dark and, the end, you know what I mean? Something that's revelation type of shit. So he ended up making me the cover for the track. It's called The End. It's with the brown cover.
yeah.
So that was the first time I worked with Vibe Moss. And then, I mean, when we worked, it was perfect. You know what I mean? Like I think it was, I sent him the payment. He had the cover to me within a couple days. You know what I mean? Like it was, and I love when I can work with people who are like, as motivated as I am. So I just kept hitting him up for art, and he always kills it. So yeah, shout out Vimos. He's very talented, doing some big things with Pike Gang too.
Shouts out to Pike Gang. Shouts out to Naj and Cash and Jake.
Jake OHJ.
Yeah.
The homie. We got some shit in the works as well.
Yeah, I interviewed him and he was wearing a ski mask the whole time. Stuff like that. That was a good interview. That was proud of that.
Damn, bro, that's fun.
Yeah. There wasn't much to say in that interview and like for me and him because he just like has so much good music that like it's whatever, dude. Like I wasn't like not every interview I do has to be fucking like I've done a 3.5 hour interview before. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like not everyone has to be like that. And I'm totally fine with that. And
yeah, Jake's a good guy for sure.
Yeah, and he just like yeah, man, and his beat tapes, man, like they're the big inspiration right there. And
that Detroit funk, he's trying to bring that around. That's sick.
Yeah. I want to see him. No, dude, you know what would be crazy? Is a Detroit is a Jake OHM and Cisco collab.
Oh, that would be tight.
Like just the beat. Okay, I don't know who would be on it. You know what I mean?
I mean, that instrumental could just like almost just breathe on its own without a rapper. Like they even might be able to make something just good as itself. Like I know there's you've heard of Extermination. It's like with a 6. Like he's like a producer, but his beats are exactly like that. Like you can just listen to him all day. And
Cisco did something really nice, like a little beat collaboration with Smokey and Sadir.
DJ Smokey, yeah.
I be the motherfucker. That
yeah.
Like
was that off that tape that they did? Smokey and Sadir.
That was fucking nuts, dude.
At the Boulevard, yeah. That's got a ton of good tracks on it.
I just played it at work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And those are all instrumentals, you know what I mean? Or either instrumentals or like they'll pull an acapella from like Future or something like that, and they'll just like flip that shit like it's nothing. Like, yeah,
that's what Ryan Celsius did with the Trappin' in Jamaica joint he just dropped.
Yeah,
he did one. He did an acapella of Look at Me Now from Lil Wayne, and he put it on like some Jamaican funk beat because they did a whole like project where they made like Jamaican funk. I forget what they called it, but they made a new genre. It was called like dub funk. That's what they're calling it.
Oh shit.
And Ryan Celsius. Shouts out to Ryan Celsius and what they got going on over there. But that was. They also pulled. They had pulled an acapella from Look at Me Now, but they also pulled a Drake acapella. It was like bitches locked up, one stop from the plane, from the fucking helicopter. Pop star. Yeah. They put that on the dub funk.
Damn, that's sick. Yeah, that just gives the whole track a different vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It brings the mainstream into like something that's a little bit more like familiar, to us. You know what I mean? Who listen to underground music.
Well, how'd you get in this lane? Because this is This is very peculiar, you know, and the audience is very committed. How did you find this lane, this sound, this aesthetic? How did you find this?
Yeah, so
And why?
I'd say like the best way to kind of, because I mean it was kind of like over 2.5 years, you know, of just kind of like developing everything. But I'd say the biggest way to kind of encapsulate that is just like just making a lot of music and just like making a lot of music with a lot of people. I'd say that was probably the biggest thing that helped me kind of get to the point where I am today. Like, you know, started like connecting with producers and like, you know, hitting them up, you know, following them on Instagram and SoundCloud, you know what I mean? Like making sure that they know who you are before you start working with them. And like, you know, even something as little as like asking permission to use a beat or like, you know, just letting them know that you bought a beat off of their page and to expect a track produced by them soon. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. Like if you just kind of like plant seeds here and there and just make a lot of music, because like the more music you make, the more that like you're gonna want to improve. You know what I mean? So like I feel like that's kind of how I got to the point that I'm at today. Is just like working with a lot of different people. You know, asking for opinions when it's, you know, appropriate, and like, you know, just trying to like build those strong connections that you can then play back on, you know, later. Like I remember one of my songs called Stick 'em Up. I think it's like one of my top played on my SoundCloud right now, but features Ace Snows. Shout out Ace Snows, hella dope artist. Would definitely check him out, and the whole Play Made records. But I remember I sent him the open verse for that, and like it was kind of like I felt like I was just kind of throwing up a prayer because I wasn't really sure if he was gonna do anything with it. But he ended up being super down, and he hopped on it, and like I think I ended up getting him on another track later, and I plan on working with him in the future. But that's what I mean. Like, you know, you never know who's gonna fuck with your shit. You know what I mean? You just kind of gotta make a lot of it, keep improving, keep, you know, and don't really compare yourself to anybody, because I feel like once you start comparing yourselves to other people, that's when you start getting in your head, and that's when you kind of start to lose motivation and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd say that's kind of how I got to the point, and just kind of picking up on trends. You know, like the colors that I use on my page and everything. Like, you know, it kind of like comes from just using a lot. You know what I mean? Like making a lot of music that have a lot of covers. You know what I mean? Just kind of getting like a general, you know, what I like to see on my page. Like I like blues and purples for the most part, so I try to use covers that are like blue and purple.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, how like who's the first like artist in this lane that you started listening to and were a fan of?
I'd say probably like Doom Shop. They were that's like I think Doom Shop is really what got me listening to like underground music.
Yeah,
Like
they're
I listened to a lot of
phenomenal.
Doom Shop. I listened to I don't know if you've heard of like Space City Lords and 420 Shinobi.
I've heard of
They
420 Shinobi.
yeah, he's like part of Space City Lords. But they were a huge influence on just kind of like my growth and everything. Like, they were kind of one of the first to really put me on. So shout out Space City Lords. They're going to be doing some big things soon. It's just a matter of time. Um, but yeah, they were a huge influence because I started listening to their shit real heavy, and I just loved how real they were in their tracks. You know what I mean? Like they weren't trying to do what everyone else was doing, which is rapping about devil shit and, you know, and cutting up bodies and shit. They weren't really doing that. You know what I mean? And like that was different, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what caught my ear. But yeah, those are probably like the two biggest groups that I started listening to.
Who was the
Um,
first Doom Shop artist you heard of? Because I'll be honest about mine in a second. But
I think heard of or heard their music, because I think I had heard of some of them, but I had heard others' music first. Like
so
I
you
think I
just
had heard
heard the
of
music.
I probably heard APOC Crisis. I probably heard DJ Koza, Ned Bundy. Those are probably the first few that I looked at, and then I started listening to like MC Holocaust and Soulze and Unfair. Shout out Unfair, bro. Unfair is something different. He
Yeah.
has some crazy music. Um, but yeah, that's probably who I was into first. I really fuck with DJ Koza, APOC. Ned Bundy's got really cool flows and shit like that. So,
Yeah, I interviewed him, but it never aired.
oh, okay, yeah, he's I've like had some like little like side conversations with him, just swiping up on his story and little shit like that. But yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's like
Really down to earth.
he's on another level, man. Like in terms of like when I talk to him, every time I talk with him, I learn something. Like I
Yeah,
interviewed him, and like, you know, not everybody's always like how do I say this? He just said a lot of shit that he didn't want to put out there, and that's fine. But yeah, man, he's like, he'll like give me some motivational shit, but also give me some interesting shit. Like he'll be talking, like he told me like, Mike, you got to be he's like, Mike, you got to be the opposite of Adam 22. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking about that. I'm like, damn, bro.
It's a good piece of advice.
That's like, like that's fire. He's not saying I'm becoming Adam 22. He's kind of saying that like I'm not, and that's good.
Yeah, and to kind of like stay out of that lane. Yeah, no, for sure. Like I follow No Jumper and I see all the shit that they're doing.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, it's all right. You know, sometimes I wonder how those artists really get on there. But no, he was kind of like one of the first to like. I don't want to say he was the first to start like doing all this kind of like podcast underground type shit. Because he started off, I think No Jumper started off as like a BMX blog.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and then it kind of just grew from there.
Because he just was hanging out, like, because from a mutual friend, he knew Xavier Wolf.
Yeah.
And then he just like interviewed Xavier Wolf, like, but also like it was already a blog where he would like a little like type down blog where he would like review obscure Gucci Mane tapes or Space Ghost Perp tapes. Like back in 2008, from like 2006, he would always be writing like album reviews and shit, and he had a fan base and shit. And bro, I'm not gonna lie, big inspiration right there. But just the way, like, he goes about things.
He's grinding. You know what I mean? He's getting artists.
Big inspiration.
Yeah.
I like to talk more so about like my favorite part about interviewing Slim Gorilla was me asking about like talking about some random civil rights movies we liked.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like,
whereas like on No Jumper, you would never see that, you know.
Yeah, like and like yeah, basically, but
yeah, no, he's because I remember Suicide Boys have done like I think they might have done like one, maybe two interviews, and one of them was for No Jumper with Adam 22. And I remember like that's a kind of a big interview in terms of like where they were at that point and like who they were working with. Like I'm pretty sure Jay
working at his job though. Did you know that one of them was like still working at the?
Yeah, I think Ruby still had a job at that point, which is that's crazy, bro. That's like what 5-6 years ago at this point. Like,
what year? Oh, man, I forget, but it was like 2016. That was either 2015 or 2016. But my favorite Suicide Boys tape is Kill Yourself Part 13.
Which ooh, okay, I think I know
the blue cover and like
it's the one with what New Chain Same Shackles. Is that one of the songs?
Yeah, dude. That's like real like spacey, and it's just like it's fucking beautiful, man.
Yeah, there was some. He had some really nice production on that. Yeah. Yeah, I remember I just got done because when I was like, a Suicide Boys. I can't believe I didn't mention them when you said like who kind of got me into this scene. They were oh my god, when I first heard Suicide Boys, I was hooked. Like I wanted to hear everything they had out at that time.
They're the tip of the iceberg, and I think that anybody that listens to them or knows of them should know that like they're the tip of the iceberg, you know, of that sound. Sure. It's been around way beforehand, and not everybody has to know everything. Like I just did a whole podcast and I talked with this guy, Big Flame. I don't know if you know who he is, but he was like talking to me. He was like, we did a whole like segment. We were like, information's overrated. It's fun just being stupid and stuff like that, and how like people shouldn't know everything because it kind of fucks with your head. But anyways, just know that Suicide Boys tip of the iceberg. So much people that they've collaborated in the past, like that have been doing that sound for a while. Jay Green too. Oh my God.
Jay Green.
You know, he's the one who got me into the sound, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that was Jay Green on Opana until all that came out. I mean, I figured that was Scrim or some shit. You know what I mean? But that whole like Oxycontin pistol on my tab, like I didn't even know that was Jay Green. And like that was kind of what he like was trying to like, I don't want to say bug them about, but he was just like, yo, like this song has like millions of streams and I haven't seen anything. Like that's literally me on the hook. You know what I'm saying? Like, how am I not getting a cut? I think that's where all that kind of started. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how that whole thing unfolded.
How'd you get a track produced by DJ Koza? Did you just buy the beat, or do you know him?
Yeah, so I have a few tracks produced by him. Yeah, none of them are exclusive. I'm not gonna come out and say that they are. No, they were on his track train. They were on his beat store, and yeah, I just went and bought them, and they're expensive, no doubt. Like he knows his worth. He knows what his name means in a track. And I was like, I never felt like, because sometimes like I feel like I'll buy a beat and like I won't really be sure if I want to use it or not. But any of those, I was like, I knew I was getting my money's worth, and I was 100% down to pay what he was asking for. But yeah, those were just beats I bought off his beat store. But yeah, those are some of my favorite tracks. Akoza is just different. He's just, I don't know, his sound is dope to me.
Yeah, he did that EP with Soulze is the first Doom Shot member I ever heard of, or because after I interviewed Vibe Malls, I was just like, at the end of the interview, I was like, yo, Vibe, give me some recommendations, bro. And he told me Soulze, and within like a month of like continuously listening to Soulze every day, I just posted, it would be a dream to have Soulze on my show, and then he fucking DMs me, and he's like, let's go.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's sick, bro.
Well, who's that for you? Like, who's that person who is like, I need to collaborate with this person now in an authentic manner now? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I actually do have somebody. So I remember, man, it was probably like last summer, so like about a year ago. That was kind of when I found Sacrilege set, and I'm not gonna lie, like Totex, like the dude in Sacrilege, he's kind of what put me on to Sacrilege in the first place. Like I didn't really know a whole lot about everyone else's Sacrilege, but Totex just sounded so unique, and like his verses were so clean and well written, and like that just really put me on. So like ever since then, I was just like, damn, like I know I'm not at that point yet, but when I am, I definitely want to work with this fool. And like I think like, I got added to Sac, however long later, and then I wasn't even like thinking like, oh, now I'm part of Sac, now I can work with him. Like I didn't even think like that. I was still just like, I need to make sure that the open verse I send him is gonna be like good enough for him per se. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't want to like just give him some open verse worth of verse that I took 20 minutes to write just so I can get a track out with him. You know what I mean? Like I wanted it to be something special. So 420 Shinobi ended up sending me, at the time we were just kind of just cooking out tracks, and one of the beats that he sent me was called Inhale Exhale, and it was just I couldn't stop listening to it, just the beat itself. I was like, oh my god, bro, this shit's gonna hit so different. And that was the kind of beat I was kind of waiting for to send to Totex. Like I was like, I'm gonna need something special to send to this guy. So I listened to it, wrote it, got the open verse ready, and he ended up hopping on it. But yeah, that was probably my first like dream collab, was Totex. So I'm glad we got to work. Got some more shit in the works as well. So
I'm definitely gonna have to check his shit out. Cause like you're
he's very
building him up.
Yeah, Totex. He's one of like the OGs. Like
yeah, I will go down the rabbit hole of Totex when I upload this.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely be worth your time.
Vader, how did that happen? Because I'm a big fan of him, and like a lot of my people in my group fuck with him and Freebase, and I'm gonna be interviewing him like tomorrow, I think. Probably.
Yeah, Vader, really good guy. So I'm trying to think. Damn, I can't even really remember like when we first started talking. I think what ended up happening was either I followed him or he followed me. So we just that's how we first got to know each other. And then I think he just said like, he just sent me a message one day and was just like, hey, if you ever want to work on something, just like, let me know. And I think I had a beat at the time. It was the beat for the end. And I don't know if the open verse was ready. It might have been. But I remember I was just like, oh, I haven't really had a feature on like a track that I've produced before. But, let's see. This young Vader guy, I checked out his music. He was pretty cool. You know what I mean? I just figured, why not? And so I sent it to him. He got it back to me within, a few days, if not a week. You know what I mean? It was fast. So we dropped that. And then I think he's like, yo, if you ever want to work on another one, just let me know. And I was like, bet. so I and he was said he had told me like after that thing that he was like, or after that track, that he was a fan of my production and he really liked the heaviness of it and shit like that. So I was like, well, damn, bro, I'll just produce the next one if that's cool with you. So then I produced, I think it was the next one we came out with is The Other Side, the blue cover. And then we dropped another one that I produced. So like, yeah, it's just kind of like been like a little saga that we've been doing, just with beats that I've been producing. And I feel like with each beat that I end up sending him, it ends up being better than the last. Yeah, so I always have a good time working with Vader. He's a real good guy. Good work ethic too. And yeah, and he runs Freebase and Young Suicide Productions, and he's definitely got his hands full when it comes to underground support. But yeah, definitely. We got one more. We got one in the works. Another one that I produced. And then we got some other tracks that we're working on too. We might end up doing like a little tape together in the future. But yeah, fuck with Young Vader. He's a good dude.
I think they're like the next big underground collective, Freebase, like for real, like
Yeah,
and
I like
Misery
the
Mob. We were
guys.
talking about that earlier. Is
Yeah.
them and Misery Mob are like equally on the same come up level. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Freebase. Young Nutter is doing some numbers.
I just reacted to that track, dude.
Yeah, that
DIY.
No Face, No Tray, or No Case or something like that. Yeah, that was a cool track. They both went hard in that.
Yeah.
And Honey Jack Smooth, he's doing some shit. He's got some talent. And like Dead Fuck and like those kind of guys. Like yeah, they're doing a lot of big things. I'm excited to see where they'll be. Even like by the end of this year.
Is Psycho Rich a part of a collective at all, or is he solo?
So I think he started off solo. He's been solo for a while. I think he runs his own. It's called like Level 1 Records. It's mostly just like for his distribution, so he can like distribute like cassettes and stuff like that. But yeah, he's not part of like like a Misery Bob or anything like that. Like I think he just does his own thing with JD Unknown.
Yeah, he's fine. Like I fuck with what he's got going on. Like
I'm really excited to see where he's gonna be because I feel like with each tape that he's dropped, he's getting better and better. And because he's like, not a lot of people are doing what he's doing. Like like when he said he wanted to do Memphis rap, he really meant that shit. Like he didn't mean just like funk and like Memphis inspired rap. He meant like go back, listen to all the fucking Memphis tapes from way back when. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you go on his page and he would post like some of like the classic tapes, like DJ Squeaky and all those real old tapes. And like I remember that's what first put me on to him, was the fact that he was posting all these like old ass Memphis songs that I've heard sampled a million times, but I never really knew what it was from.
Yeah, I've been since I've been making funk music, like I've been like trying to go back and listen to the actual tapes. I think what the first thing that people should like go into would be like the Juicy J 9mm. That's a good intro to like old Memphis rap. Is just like put that on,
like
go on YouTube, find the like 1 hour tape,
1 hour mix. Yeah, for sure.
Do whatever you do that requires you sitting at a desk for more than an hour. Put that on,
or like a drive, maybe like a long drive or something like that.
Yeah, but like you gotta like hear the shitty quality, like everything about that shit. Like I when you go back, man, there's this like DJ Spanish Fly, but also Deadly Verses as well. Deadly Verses that has been fucking sampled to the brim. Oh my god.
Or like Lil Jon, Red Dot, like a lot of recycling.
Any song that samples Joski Love, My Love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Memphis horn.
Well, it's like once you hear it, it's like you know, like it's just one of those things where you hear it and you're like, oh my god, they're still using this. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like I've even used some of those samples. Like I remember I used a like Pistol Packin', Bitch Smackin' Killer, whatever that sample is.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and like I remember I had a song where I used that and I didn't even know how used it was until I like started doing a little bit more research, and I was like, oh man, I can't have this up anymore. Like,
yeah,
this is just, it's too widely used.
I use Mask in the Glock. I should never have done
it. Yeah. That's a dope sample.
Though, after I used that, I found what was sampled in Mask in the Glock, some background singing voice, and I ended up sampling that and making my own
Oh,
new
that's
shit
tight.
with it. And then I was like, that's what people should be doing, is they should find out what they're sampling samples, and that's what Jay Green does a lot of the time, because when he had to recreate the Memphis horn, he had to go back to Too Thick by DJ Zerk, and then he ended up going even back to the Joski Love track. And
Damn.
I'm just saying, producers look at everything from a different angle, you know?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you got to. You know what I mean? If you want to do something different, because like it's pretty easy for somebody to just like download, Funk Drum Kit Volume 4 and then grab every, Memphis sample on there and you make a beat out of it. You know what I mean? Anybody could do that. But it's like, it's the digging. You know what I mean? That's what makes people that's what makes some tracks stand out more than others. It's how much you spend time digging and how much time you put in outside of just like downloading a drum kit and then making a beat. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's definitely all that OG Memphis. Like, so I remember there was a day when I think I was just like consolidating my computer, just getting rid of a bunch of files. I think I was moving my drum kits over to my flash drive. And which took like so much time. Like it took like 5 or 6 hours. So I needed music to have while I was doing all of it. So I put on all of 3-6 old albums on Apple Music, and they got a lot of shit. All of them. I listened to so much 3-6, and it was crazy how many people, if not sample, use their lines. I've heard songs where people will say the same lines as a 3-6, thinking that they're slick, you know what I mean? That they're gonna be able to use it and get away with it. But it's damn, bro, people were biting 3-6 since before they were even popping, you know?
That shit annoys me when someone will be like, yo, the Migos, so inspirational with the trap popularization with culture and the bro.
Yeah.
People have been doing that triplet flow since the 90s. It's the same thing with the fucking kids that think that, oh my god, some fucking dickhead told me, I'm gonna try and blend R&B with rap. I don't think anybody's done that before.
R&B and rap, that's Drake. That's literally Drake.
And he's like, I'm like, oh my god. And they're like, dude,
Party Next Door or Bryson Tiller, they all
mix
doing that.
Rock with rock. I should mix rock and roll with rap music. I don't think anybody's done that before. That shit, dude.
Linkin Park isn't the thing.
Juice WRLD clones keep me up at night. Oh my god. What keeps you up at night that gets you annoyed when it comes to you seeing somebody else do some shit that they're ignorant of? That could just be the copying the 3-6 lines, but is there something else?
No, that's a good question, because I keep quiet when it comes to what I put on my story and what I have problems with. I don't come on my story. I know some people do that, and that to each their own. You know what I mean?
That's why I do.
Yeah. Some people will just kind of just use their story to rant, and that's cool, whatever. That's not me. But I do think about that a lot. I do think about what I could be saying, and I'd say the biggest thing that bugs me is people who think they can just get a feature or use some big beat and just be big, and or people who spam the shit out of their links in the DMs, you know what I mean? Who just keep sending me shit and I don't even know who you are, kind of type of shit, you know what I mean? That kind of bugs me, you know what I mean? Cause it's one of those things where it's you got to think about what you're doing. You know what I mean? Do you really think for somebody who's just going to send some person, say me sending Soulzay a track, if I just send him a link to one of my songs, what are my expectations really going to be that he's going to open it and just be like, oh shit, this dude's fire. You know what I mean? He's probably not even.
If you want to send a link to someone, find something relevant to send to him.
And some context,
The only time I ever sent a link to Soulzay is when I interviewed Slim Gorilla, because he's made a track with him and knows him. So I was like,
and then there's context there. You know what I mean? That was fine.
And Soulzay's the reason I found Slim Gorilla.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure.
I'm not yeah, dude. Soulzay, I mean, you when they talk with him, he's just Soulzay's a dope guy. Oh my, he's just I've never had an issue with Soulzay, and all of his music is fucking. Did you hear his new track, 84 Eldo?
Yes, sir. That was who produced that. Can't remember. It's not coming to me. Was it Drag? I know Drag produces a
No, I
lot of
think he
them.
mixed that.
Oh, he mixed it. Okay. I
No,
know.
I don't think he produced that, but
I think Grime Fiends did the art for it, as far as you know. I
art by
did.
Grime Fiends mixed in.
Yep.
No, actually produced by Isaac.
Isaac. Oh wow, that's
Produced
a
by
big.
Isaac, mixed by Drag, and Soulze written lyrics and Grime Fiends, dude. They're fucking nuts.
Yeah,
Oh my
bro.
god.
I don't think I'll ever end up getting the art from them just because they're a little bit too exclusive in terms of like who they like to work with. But yeah, no, I love looking at their shit. Or I think it's a guy. I think Grime Beans is one guy as far as I know. But yeah, he's very talented. He's got some crazy shit on there on
Did
his
you hear the
page.
Okoza and Soulze EP from a couple months ago?
Yeah, I believe so. It's been a minute since I gave it a listen, but I think I know what you're talking about.
That was
That
dope.
was like, see, like Akoza, I feel like almost has like two like not like genres, but two like moods that he's in. Like he has that real like doom shop, like dirty, grimy shit, and then he's also kind of got like the playish shit, like the more like vibey, like like
Right,
and I
get
don't want to say
bitches,
fonts. That's not
get
really what he
lazy
makes. But you know what I'm
bitches. You know
saying?
what I'm saying?
Yeah, like some Soulze type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
So
know he's
that's why
not
I
in Doom Shop anymore, actually.
Akoza, yeah, he's not. Which is that when that happened, I'm not gonna lie, it shocked me. I thought Akoza like, I thought he put Doom Shop on to like, kind of he was like a big part of their sound.
And the
So
tracks that he did with Dread and Soulze, like Lunatic, I don't know if he produced. There's just no trace.
I know Lunatic he definitely produced.
Yeah, he produced Lunatic, but there's also like, uh,
War Against Civilization. That's a crazy track. I think that's what.
Blacking Out. That was Ryan. That was Freddie. Freddie Dread
So
to
yeah,
Climb Up.
Freddie Dredd is Ryan C, right? I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Okay, I figured. Yeah.
Like if he posts on his story him producing stuff, I'm pretty sure he's Ryan C. Like
Yeah, because like he's come out and said like, yeah, chilling with Ryan C tonight, and like, but I'm pretty sure that's just like him. Like I think he's just like that's the joke. Like
yeah, I
he
do
is.
that shit with like my music name. Like I fuck with people with that shit.
Yeah, right. Like I don't know who that fool is. You know what I mean? Like we just work. You know what I mean? Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking about doing that for a while, like making a different name for my production and then just using Slim for my rap. But I figured it would get too confusing, so just stick with one.
I'm looking this up, but No Trace is another good like Doom Shop posse cut. There's there's no info. Yeah, that's DJ Koza right there. Blacking Out
Or
Freddie
you're talking about
D.
those big tracks with like,
Yeah, like those are my favorite
yeah,
Doom Shop type shits. Is like where there's like more than three people on it.
yeah. Because I mean, what's crazy about Doom Shop is like, it's funny because whenever MC Holocaust goes live, there's always one fucker that asks like, "Yo, can I be in Doom Shop?" or something like that, and the answer is always the same. It's like, bro, we got the talent we need. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody who's in Doom Shop is in it for a reason. You know what I mean? And like, they come like we end up finding them. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's reaching out to us and saying like, "Hey, can I be in Doom Shop?" Like chances are it's probably going to be a no, or they would have found them by that time. But yeah, I have to say that's funny. Like I feel like anytime anybody from Doom Shop goes live, there's somebody that asks that, and it's just I just laugh to myself. Like, bro, what did you expect them to say? Yeah, sure, just join.
Yeah, like a majority of the people like I brought in my group, I fucking knew them way prior, or I've already known their shit before. Like there's never really been that much of an occasion where I've just never heard of someone and gotten into like, yo, be a part, yo, I can trust you with like making a good track and shit like that. I don't know, but do you think your music could cause blood flying around in mosh pits?
I think some of the tracks, yes, and I think that's a lot of the tracks with Grim. Whenever me and Grim work, at least the past few tracks that we've been doing, I don't know. It was one of those things where the first track I sent him was just some crazy shit. Like it was that Lights Out track, and it was just like loud. It was heavy hitting type shit, and like he killed it. And I was like, well, damn, bro, like I don't really know anybody else, or I didn't know anybody else at the time that was like willing to hop on some shit like that, you know.
All right.
But yeah.
Like I need to see a show by you, but I know that right now, like not everybody can get that, and that's fine. Okay, so eventually I will see that, but who knows? Who knows when that will happen? But I'm down. I'm down to show up. Anyways, what self development tactics do you practice?
I'd say just producing a lot, you know what I'm saying? And like not that's not just like sitting down and just making a lot of beats. Like for me it's kind of a lot of different things. Like not only making a beat, but just maybe even just trying new things, or like, you know, maybe just getting a new kit of sounds, using a lot of different sounds from different kits. Just trying to like, you know, set yourself apart, because I feel like at this point, like we're kind of living in a world of, you know, copycats and people who are trying to be like, you know, like Baker, or people who have already
Try
made
to
it
get
from their
mug
sound.
with me.
Yeah, like people who are trying to like build it from a sound that's already been popularized. Like you got to realize they blew up because, you know, they made whatever they do unique to them, and like that's what made them big, you know. So like if you're gonna get to that point, you kind of need to like, you know, you can't just develop your sound right then and there, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
that's
kind
why
of
like
have to
I've been trying to work with someone. Have you ever heard of techno funk?
heard of it, haven't really like delved into it, but I've heard of it.
Dude,
Yeah.
someone I got in my group has this track called Techno Funk. It's got like 80,000 streams, dude. And it's like
Damn.
that's like the type of shit people should be looking out for if you want to like get into making music, is like looking at alternate forms of something. Like
Yeah.
never think that like funk's fun to make and it's just like, but you always got to find like some different ass way shit's
And
done.
don't be
That's why
afraid to
there's
take
like
risks for sure.
punk drill. Like even if you're a drill producer right now watching this, there's like punk drill with Polo Perks, like Playboy Cardi inspired drill music. There's that. You could do that. There's the Sleepy Hollow type of drill that's heavily Jamaican and island sounding and emo sounding, you know, drill and shit like that. Heavily melodic based drill. There's so much forms of everything. Chances are any form of entertainment you're watching, that is always probably going to be the tip of the iceberg, and that's just to show that there is always endless possibilities for anything.
Big facts. Very true. Well, and like I feel like that's especially for like the set that I'm in now. Like they kind of introduced me to like, especially like Outkast. Like he introduced me to like what lo-fi is. Like not like lo-fi like, you know, like study music, more like lo-fi like that real like loud shit, like, you know, like 6 Feet Deep and like Slick Killer. I don't know if you've heard of him. But the real like Big Crush, like real distorted type shit. He kind of put me onto that. And like I never really even like realized that that was like a genre of music until I started listening to like Outkast. And I was like, damn, like, you know, anybody else who were to listen to this would just think it's like, you know, just gain heavy, you know what I mean? Just distorted out the ass. But like it's all done for a reason, and it's all done like intentionally per se. So like obviously some lo-fi tracks are gonna hit harder than others, and some are gonna sound better than others. But like it's just kind of a new way to look at production, you know what I mean? Like instead of trying to get everything clean as possible, it kind of takes the other direction where you try to like dirty it up, which is cool because there's a lot of different ways you can do it. So yeah, that's kind of been like a little bit of an inspiration for me in
That's what
terms of
Doom
like
Shop does
not being afraid to
successfully.
break the rules, you know?
Doom Shop does that successfully. Like more
Yeah,
so Freddie
they're a
than
big part. They get copied a lot, and it's kind of funny just
like
because
the
they
Necklace by Freddie Dredd is the best example of like
good song.
distorted ass, like hazy lo-fi fucking, and Freddie's mixing. A lot of people
His
get
vocals
annoyed
are
by it, but I
crazy.
love it. Some
Yeah,
people
his
I've
vocals are
shown get
definitely
annoyed by it,
crazy.
but I love it.
Actually, you know what? Freddie was the first one in Doom Shot. Now that I look back, Freddie was the first one I found. Because I didn't even know he was part of Doom Shot. When I heard Freddie for the first time, I think I heard I can't remember. I won't be able to think of the
What
name.
year?
Oof. I was a junior, so this would have been last year, a little over a year ago. Probably like a year and a half ago is when I found Freddie.
That would
So
probably the biggest song back then would probably been like "Oh Paul, Oh Darling" or
I think those were his top two at the time, which I think are still his top played
"Cha
tracks.
Cha" was a bit at like 2019.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Actually, I got my phone here. I'll check real quick. Yeah, Freddie, because I remember Freddie, like when I got into Freddie, I got into Freddie a lot. Like I was listening to all his shit. Like at first album with like the real like old shit, like I was bumping that hella.
Variety Pack.
No, it was the one before that. Um, it was pretty. I believe so. I believe so. Let me double check though. It was this one, Dread.
Oh yeah.
This one, that was the one of the first things I had ever heard by Freddie Dredd, and like it was one of those things where I had never heard anybody mix their vocals like that. Like it was just like you said, it was just so like lo-fi and under the beat. You know, it's just so like not what you're used to hearing. But it was like intentional. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't just do it because that's the equipment they had. Like they mixed it to sound like that.
And he's built a fan base off of that shit. And he just like
Yeah.
he just
And
has such a reliable fan base. And like it's not like he like even when I talk with him about an interview, I didn't like get mad. I was just like, okay, you already have a fan base. You don't fucking need this shit. I owe nothing to you. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Yeah, he's got. I know TikTok. I think what was it? Oh, Darling was the one that went TikTok famous or something like that. So he
It
got.
was Oh Darling, Opal, and Cha Cha, but mainly Cha Cha.
Yeah, like those are the ones that kind of like brought him the TikTok fan base. You know. But yeah, because it's crazy. Because like, I feel like I know. Who was it? Have you heard of Mascarilla? He's like another like
Yeah, he did
interviewer.
an article about him.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he actually interviewed Cursed and MC Holocaust
Yeah, he did.
a couple years ago, and I remember they were talking about Freddie, and he's just like, nah, Freddie reps like Freddie could be doing what he wants, like Freddie could be signed right now, like he could be like,
He is signed.
yeah, he's signed now, but at the time I don't think he was, and I think he was saying like that was around the time when TikTok was making him really big, and I remember he was saying like, we told Freddie like, yo, like if you end up like blowing up and really start to do this shit, like, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Like, we'll still ride for you. We'll still support you. And like, he just said like, nah, like I'm like, he reps Doom Shop hard as fuck. You know what I mean? Like Doom Shop motherfucker. Like that was his shit. And like, he just has always repped it hard as fuck. So like, I don't know. I could see why they fuck with Freddie hard. Because I mean, he's unique, not only unique, but he's just like, he's a ride or die in terms of Doom Shop and, how they put him on and everything like that.
What forms of hip hop out of your lane do you enjoy? Like, doesn't sound like anything you did create or listen to.
Yeah. So I really, really fuck with like Young Dolph and Key Glock and like the whole like Paper Route Empire. Like,
Florida?
that's just my, no, they're from Memphis.
Oh, I'm tripping.
Yeah, they've straight out of Memphis and all that shit.
Wait. Young Dolph. Did he have the one? What was it? What was that album? Rich Slave?
Rich Slave. Yep. Yeah, that was Dolph.
Yeah.
He goes hard as fuck. Like I've been following Dolph probably like 3-4 years ago, and yeah, he's just like I don't know. It's crazy because he kind of built everything that like he is like doing right now in terms of like Paper Route Empire and his label and everything. Like he runs his own label and like, he does all the distribution shit and like he does all the deals and shit and like, he's kind of like the boss, you know what I mean, in terms of like his label and shit.
He's boozy.
Yeah, for real.
Big inspiration right there.
Yep. And like he's been around for a long time. Like shit, bro. Like since before,
that one music video he did out front of his house.
Was it might have been Baby Joker if it's from recently, unless it's
from a while ago, like Lil Boozy, like Lil.
Oh shit. I'm not sure. Yeah, I've only listened to I haven't listened to a whole lot. You're talking about Boozy Badass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what's that track called from a while back?
No song, No Juice by Boozy Badass. That shit goes hard. Yeah, Boozy's kind of the GOAT.
2009.
Also is banned on Instagram. So.
Oh, We Out. Is it We Out Ya? Yeah.
It could be.
Fuck.
Yeah, Boozy's been around for a long time too.
He's got a debate feature.
Oh, I could definitely believe that. I mean, at this point though, like I don't think there's an artist who would not want to work with Boozy. Like I think like he's kind of cemented himself in the industry.
Yeah, we
whether
actually,
he
yeah,
likes it or not. Yeah. But yeah, Dolph and Glock, those are probably like the two people I listen to the heaviest that are not like underground. Like that, I definitely keep up with what they're dropping and shit like that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And Key Glock, he's pretty fire. I gotta get more into him though.
Oh yeah, Key Glock, like especially like his glaucoma tape and like even
That's
like
funny.
that one with the, I think it's like the yellow tape or something like that. But yeah, he's very hard. He's very selective about what beats he chooses, and yeah, he's dope. Key Glock was like, I think I like Key Glock before I like Dolph, because I think I like Key Glock and he kind of put me onto that Memphis, like the new Memphis rap type shit, and then that kind of brought
Like
me on
Pooh
to Dolph.
Shiesty, like yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and like even like NLE Choppa, like like back when he was first coming up, he doesn't really do that shit anymore. But like when NLE Choppa was coming up, like he was putting out some Memphis rap, and I think a lot of people kind of just overlooked that because of like shot of flow and like going TikTok famous or whatever
yeah,
he
yeah.
was
But the
doing.
thing about him is he's like, and I'm really like, it's gonna sound like fucking like I'm like trying to say something mean about him, but like he's very like underdeveloped, young. He's gonna do a bunch of different
Yeah,
shit because he hasn't formed his sound, and he's like basically like growing up famous, and that's in a negative sense where he's gonna probably he might not. I could definitely see him like either not maybe not stop rapping, but like he's just gonna do a lot of different shit, like the whole like chakra thing, like.
yeah. I don't know what the hell that is. What
But he
is?
stopped it when his label was like he stopped it, and like now his like Instagram's like official NLE Choppa account run by Warner Records, and now his like
Oh, it's not
label.
even run by him.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
now his like label's forcing him to like rap about like guns and shit again. And I don't hate people rapping about guns, but like if you're gonna change your shit and be all like peaceful, like you gotta be consistent with that. And
yeah, that's true.
no, you know who No Malice, like Pusha T's brother.
Okay, I know Pusha T. I don't know.
But his Clips, right? So that was the duo with Pusha T and his brother No
Oh,
Malice.
okay. Oh,
So
okay.
like
Okay.
he just completely quit rapping and became like a Christian motivator. I'm saying while I don't think everybody should become like a Christian motivator, if you're gonna completely change your view, go
Yes.
full in with it, bro, or just don't do it
Yep.
in the first place.
Yep. Yeah. You definitely got to commit to whatever you're doing for sure.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I'd say, like you said though, NLE Choppa, like he's young. You know what I mean? He's gonna make these kind of decisions. He's gonna, he's because sometimes like you gotta live a little. You know what I mean? To learn. Sometimes you just gotta live to learn. And like I feel like that's kind of the phase he's in right now. Like I mean, he's big as fuck. Like I'm sure he's gonna be at Rolling Loud this year. Like I mean, he's a pretty big deal. But I'm more curious to see where he's gonna be in like even only like 2 or 3 years. Because I mean, 2 or 3 years for an artist. I mean, if I look at the music I produced a year ago, like it is a world different from the shit that I'm putting out now. So like, when you look at that at like a more like an industry level, like where he's gonna be in like 2 or 3 years, like it's kind of crazy, like where how far he's gonna come since then.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So like what non rap entertainment do you like?
Yeah. So and just like in terms of like outside of music or just
Yeah,
non-rap.
outside of music.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I really fuck with The Office. I've watched The Office all the way through, like, oh man, probably like going into the double digits. I've seen that shit so much. I basically know it by heart by now. But yeah, so I fuck with just like chilling. I don't know. I used to when I first came to school, I was like, I was partying a lot. I was doing a lot of that shit, and I don't know. I've just kind of gotten to the point where like I don't want to say like I outgrew it because obviously like I like going to the bars and having a good time and whatnot, but like I just don't like getting as crazy as I used to. So like I feel like back then, whereas I would have went out 3 days a weekend, now I'm just like you know I'm just cool with like chilling with my girl and just like watching Netflix and making popcorn or some shit. You know what I mean? And watching The Office or watching a movie, or I don't know. It's just for me, it's just a lot more like gratifying to know that you can just kind of hang with somebody. You know what I mean? Instead of having to like go out and just like you don't know what's gonna happen and there's gonna be crazy shit all over. And but yeah, I'd say just chilling. You know, when I'm not working on music, I'm either like watching TV or, you know, just
Yeah.
hanging out, you know. Door dashing. I recently started door dashing. Got to hustle for that bread, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody get you. What did Soze say? He said, never a wrong time to make sure that your paper right. Soze
Yeah,
quote right there.
bar. It's a bar.
Yeah. So, what do you have planned or you could announce before we wrap this up?
I'd say new merch on the way. I know it's been a long time coming. Merch. I think my last merch run was like last summer or something. Um, but I have to buy inventory first and then sell it. So like I need to front that money, which I don't have right now. So I'm just kind of waiting until I have a job this summer so I can do that. But I have the design and everything. So new merch on the way. New EP dropping on May 21st. It's called Revelation. It's like a more like laid back EP I've been wanting to do for a long time. Just because I feel like a lot of my lyrics are kind of a little bit darker, like a little bit more personal to me, and I've just kind of wanted to dedicate a project to that. So a single for that's going to be coming out next week. And then hopefully, if the stars align, we'll have a show by the end of the summer. Me and Grim that will be live streaming on Instagram too. So yeah, those will be some things to look forward to.
Exciting.
Yes, sir. Lots of things from Sacrilege as well. So yeah, things in the works, things on the way for sure.
Thank you for joining the podcast, and thank you for joining the Mike Media Incorporated Empire
Thank
as we
you.
conquer this known universe.
Yes,
We're
sir.
heavily inspired by Paul Atreides of the Atreides Empire.
Love that.
Anyways, what were we saying?
Love that, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Links in the description to his music and social media. Check his shit out. Support his music if you support me. Thank you for
Yes,
watching.
sir.
And if you're listening on any podcast platforms, leave a rating. Check out the sponsors in the description. 1 month free trial of Audible. Also the Patreon, $3 a month. When we hit 10 patrons, we will be doing a giveaway of merchandise. Goodbye.
Yes, sir.